All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Female Founder Collective and 10th House series where we get to interview extraordinary founders. I'm super excited to be here today with Prudence Millsap, who is the founder of Beauty by Earth. I'm going to introduce her in just a second, but first, just wanted to talk for a moment about Female Founder Collective. I am the co-founder and CEO. And I am very fortunate to run a business that is both a nonprofit as well as a for-profit. Our nonprofit arm is a grant-making body. We actually just announced 3 grant winners for our I Love NY grant that was in partnership with our co-founder, Rebecca Minkoff, and her business. So definitely check that out. And we also have the 10th House, which is our new private membership community that provides connections to founders by stage, by industry, by geography, by whether or not they're venture backed, by education. It gives you education, gives you resources, it gives you tools for founders all over the globe. And Prudence is very fortunately a member of this, and she is the founder of Beauty by Earth, as I mentioned, which is a family-owned Dallas-based personal care products company devoted to natural ingredients and sustainable packaging. She's also the mother of 2 wonderful boys, and we'll get into her story of why she started her business, which is from one of those boys, and loves her early AM 5Ks. Super impressive. I can never sort of get myself up early enough. Riding her Peloton, and is known for her healthy culinary creations. Prudence, a warm welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I was particularly astounded by your story because you started off with, I think was it 5K or 20K?
20.
20. It was 20K of your own money. You weren't flush with cash or with a trust fund that you were able to pull from, and you were able to build your business to over 20 million. Now, you've said, like, at this point, you still don't feel like you've made it, but for most of us that are listening and watching, we feel like you've made it. Can you talk about those early days of when you formed Beauty by Earth, why you left your corporate job to do so, and how you were able to sort of scrape together the funds to ultimately get it started?
Sure. I guess I've always been in the workplace. I've always had a job, despite kids and all of that. I, worked a 9-to-5 job just like most other people. And my oldest son developed a neurological disease that was very severe and caused a lot of day-to-day necessities of my time. So, and when I was at my 9-to-5 job, I found myself researching and what do other parents do in this situation and all of that, because I was very overwhelmed by the whole thing. And anyways, I started working with doctors, and they were like, you need to check your house for these chemicals. At the time, we lived in a community that was on a golf course, so they were worried about maybe the stuff being sprayed to keep the golf course green, and what household cleaners I was using in my house, and all these types of things. So I started looking into everything. And at the same time, I was realizing that I needed to start my own business so that I had time to dedicate to finding a resolution for my son. Because I felt dishonest being at my job, you know what I mean? Because I just was so distracted, and my employers were very understanding of the situation, and they wanted me to stick around, but I just felt like it didn't have my attention anymore. So in this whole process, it was kind of the perfect marriage of, I need to start my own business to have time, and I need to have toxic-free products around my house that I could use just in case that was worsening and or contributing to my son's condition. And so that's when we came up with Beauty by Earth. Luckily, I wasn't necessarily living day to day or week to week, but we were able to afford my husband just working and basically living off of less money, if you will, while we put money into the company. And then we just slowly grew it to the point where we could start, taking some money out while still having enough money to reinvest in the business and grow it, because we weren't comfortable taking loans or anything like that. And finding an investor wasn't even in the picture, honestly. Like, who's going to invest?
Never thought about that.
No.
You just went and executed.
Yeah, I just was like, well, we need to not take money for a year out of the business so that everything it makes can afford us additional products. And we just grew from one product to 2 to 3 to 4. And slowly, as we could afford to grow naturally, so that we didn't have to borrow money, because we thought, well, if we borrow money, we're just going to get further in the spiral of now we need to make more money to pay that back, and
right.
Where does this ever end? So and we're just people, I guess my business partner and I are just people who are not super comfortable with debt. So it was easier for us to just not take money out at the beginning.
And Prudence, in that first year, because so many founders are trying to figure out, okay, what is that right point in time where I quit my full-time job and go directly into my business? Because a lot of them are not in a financial position, right, where they can afford to not work. For your co-founder, did he have a job? How did you manage sort of the talent, and how did you sort of prepare to be not making an income for a year or 2 years? And when did you start taking your own income out of the business? Because you said the first year you reinvested everything back into the business.
Right. So we took no money out at all whatsoever the first year. Okay, that was a lot of questions, so I'm just trying to answer all of them. My co-founder did have a full-time 9-to-5 job, and his wife didn't work, actually. So he was the only income for his family. So he waited to leave his job a couple years in, because he needed to know that we were financially stable enough to replace his income so his family could survive. My husband worked and made enough money that we could do without mine. Obviously, with my income, it was more comfortable, but we could get by. So hopefully that answers that question. And then on the subject of when did we decide to start taking money out, it wasn't that we needed the money, and it's hard to define what that point is where you go, okay, we can now afford to pay ourselves. It was more, okay, we've been working on this for a year, giving it our all, growing it. And a friend of mine had suggested, you need to make it worth your while to be working on this business, and not just, it's great to pour the money back in, but when do you acknowledge your work with a paycheck? And at that point, we decided, okay, well, we'll pay ourselves $1,000 a week. Far less than either of us made at our regular jobs, but it was something, and there was an exchange between the business and us at that point. We were working and putting a lot of effort into growing the business. Now the business was at least giving us something back. For my partner, he would work on the business at night, on the weekends, on the plane. He had a job where he traveled a lot, so he was often in the air and would just get Wi-Fi on the plane and work on the plane. I didn't know the first thing about moving shipments from one place to the next, so he scheduled all of our shipments and did all of our logistics, while I sort of did customer service and R&D and was holding everything else together, because we did not have any employees.
Got it. Okay. And it's great to know because it seems like when you're thinking about a co-founder, right, a really important thing to think about is what am I bad at, or what do I not like to do, or what are the sort of key strengths and characteristics I need as part of the team that operates the business. So I like that you acknowledge that those were sort of his skill sets and then the things that you took on. I want to talk about product because out of the gate, you were able to produce a product that people loved. Can you talk about sort of the product development journey, maybe the products that you started with, how you expanded, and how your sales have continued to go up as a result of that?
Sure. So our very first product at the time was just a single ingredient product, which was argan oil. At the time, argan oil was a very sort of hot ingredient for hair and face and skin. And we decided to jump on the bandwagon. It wasn't very creative of me, probably, but it was a easier barrier to entry to get started. And I basically found a woman, a Moroccan woman, who imported argan oil because that's the only place where it comes from. And it was certified organic. And so we went through with our business getting certified under her certificate, and we started selling organic argan oil. And basically the product line evolution is a little bit not typical, if you will. At the time, we were including as a free gift in our, like, if when people bought argan oil, we would include a free gift of a little stick of lip balm. And it was just peppermint lip balm, nothing fancy. And as people were leaving reviews on our product, they were always talking about this little stick of lip balm that was in the packaging. And to us, it was just a freebie. We weren't selling it. It was just.
Why did you do that, by the way? Like, what was it? Just like, here's this little thing that's very inexpensive for us to make. Like, let's throw it in there as a carrot to dangle for the consumer.
It wasn't even a carrot. It was a. There's a fantastic book actually called Be Like Amazon. It has nothing to do with selling on Amazon. It has everything to do with why Amazon's been successful. And one of the things it talks about in that book is what sets you apart. How do you wow a customer? How do you create that experience that when somebody purchases from you, when they get your package, it's unlike everybody else's? And so we decided to just give this stick of lip balm just as a, like, wow, that's a nice surprise when you open your package. It had nothing to do with getting someone to reorder or anything. It was just a little gesture we could do to be extra. And then we started getting so many comments about, wow, this is really good lip balm, even though it was just a freebie, you know? So then my business partner was like, why don't we sell the lip balm? So then we got into selling lip balm. Anyways, like I said, very unconventional method of how to launch products and whatever. We did not have a plan of, like, here's our whole path of a schedule of all the products we're going to develop and launch. We were very week by week at that time as far as what we were doing in the business and what was coming next. And yeah, so that,
So
and then
was it iterative where it's like you were able to see, oh, this product's doing well. What if we created something in this category? Like, how did you, because there had to be some intentionality to it for you to find such success.
yeah. So after the lip balm situation, I started thinking about the brand more as a brand rather than selling products, which is maybe how it started a little bit.
Yeah.
And going, okay, what are we doing here? Where are we going with all of this? The first thing obviously is to make money so that you can fund anything, because R&D costs money. New products cost money. All of it costs money. So at the beginning, it was a little bit like, how are we going to fund this business? We better sell something, right? Which honestly is not typical, and it's definitely unconventional. And at the same time, like, a lot of business experts say, like, don't let perfect get in the way of possible, right?
Love that.
Yeah. So we were more like, how can we get this steamboat going and make money to fund where we really want to take it? So we decided we were not going to be just a raw ingredient DIY, like sell ingredients that people could go DIY their own skincare products, even though that's amazing. And that's honestly the cleanest way to live. Not everybody's got the time for that. So we decided we wanted to sell finished goods, and eventually that's where we went. We discontinued the argan oil, and we're a finished goods company. So we pivoted, if you will. I mean, it wasn't a huge pivot because we were already in the beauty personal care space, but we basically, like, there's a lot of ways that you can look at what's trending, what people are searching for. Like Google Trends, for example, is one way that you can look at, is the search going up or down for this type of thing, right? Like there's been many, many, many fads in skincare and personal care over the years. There's things, like hairspray. Back in the 90s, it was like everybody had the big hair with the hairspray. Now, I would say hairspray is a lot less popular. So things trend, even if they don't go away entirely. It's always nice to ride a trend, even if it's a product you're going to discontinue in 3 years, right? Because people want it right now. So that's kind of how we did it. We look at what's trending. What are people wanting for skincare? Sometimes it's product types. Sometimes it's ingredients that are being searched in products, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So you kind of have to just stay on top of the trends, what it is that people are looking for, what's coming next. Sometimes it's concerns about skincare. It's acne. It's fine lines and wrinkles. It's whatever it might be. And then it's like, how can I be an even better version and give the consumer everything they want and more in that search that they're looking for?
Then there's the flip side of that. And I want to talk about Amazon, right? Because you're in an industry that is very filled with competitors, right? And so many products. Like me as a beauty consumer, I find it impossible to shop beauty because I never know. I just look to a friend that has great skin and I'm like, what do you use? I'll just use it. I'm done.
You and many others.
So, I think for you guys, what's been so magnificent is you've really been able to stand out on a channel that is really saturated, and that's Amazon.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about how did you sort of, I don't want to say game Amazon because that's not what you did, but how did you navigate Amazon and still clear the clutter of all the noise that's in there?
Yeah. I think Amazon has a lot to do with timing. If I would have started 2 years earlier, I'd be a lot further ahead right now, but we got in 7.5 years ago. It was a lot less cluttered then. And over 7.5 years, you can sell a lot of units. You can collect a lot of reviews. You can go places in 7.5 years. So I think part of it is that. Part of it is that we got into some spaces on Amazon where all the competition was only big brands that everybody knows. And while that can seem daunting to some, I see it as a huge opportunity because there's not a million other small brands like mine that people are like, oh, what's this? So even at the lip balm time, I told you that story. The only people we were up against really was Burt's Bees and like Chapstick, like the big brands in that space. And so here I was with a certified organic lip balm, not petroleum based, not all the other stuff that can be in some of those products. Here I was with the great formula. And so I was one of the top sellers of lip balm for years. Now, not anymore, but for years that was the case. And I rode that wave hard, you know? And it's been like that, somewhat cyclic with different products throughout the years. Some were more of those products that had a life cycle, and some are just tried and true. For years and years, people have been into these types of products. You know, you've got your face washes and stuff. There's always a demand for that. It's not a fad, right? So I would say it's not that you can't have success on Amazon now either. It's just maybe takes more marketing dollars now to find the same sort of success that 7 years ago was a bit easier to come by.
Prudence, when did you start? Did you differentiate your channels early on, or did you just lean in hard to Amazon because you were finding success there? How do you think about your retailer mix, and how much of your business do you devote now to direct to consumer, especially in light of what happened with COVID, where everybody was like, wow, I need control over my own channel and customer?
Right. At the beginning, we leaned into Amazon hard. For the first few years, I would say. And the reason for that I always explain when people ask is Amazon is like a mall. The consumers are already walking into the mall to buy something or to peruse,
You've
right?
got the traffic.
Yeah, the traffic is there and the search is there in every category. So on Amazon, it's a matter of advertising and making your listing stand out. You know, making, if they're looking through the page, why do they want to click on yours, right? With direct to consumer, it takes a lot more marketing dollars up front, running ads on social, on Google. It's spending 100,000 or more on a fantastic website in a lot of cases. If you're like me and you don't know how to code a website,
Did you not have a website earlier?
we
journey?
probably had some semblance of something.
But it was like a landing page sort of thing.
It wasn't a landing page, but it was a poor excuse for a website. It was like something that someone could find us, but it was like not the ultimate customer experience.
Right.
And again, it's like, don't put perfect in the way of possible, right? Like,
Yeah.
get out there and then perfect it and make it better and always work on making it what you want it to be. But if you just procrastinate and never get going because you're trying to make everything so perfect, you'll never get going.
It's such good advice. And I'm the ultimate perfectionist. And it was very hard lesson to learn. But
Right.
as a business owner and also an operator, I would always try to make things perfect, and then it just would never get done. So I just can't even restate that enough. And I try to always remember it myself.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the holidays and how you guys are thinking about that. And we were talking before this about shipping challenges that everyone's up against as consumers. How are you guys thinking about holidays, and in particular communicating with your consumers about when to buy, and what their expectations might be as you look towards this really busy season, but a really important season for all business owners?
Right. So, I think what we're going to tell people, and honestly, we've been telling people this for the last year and a half, is we're doing our best and like buy a little earlier than you expect to give more time, because every carrier out there is just delayed beyond recognition. Luckily, we're in a position where we've got the inventory to make it through the holiday season, and we're not waiting on stuff from overseas because that's very backlogged right now. But like we always tell customers, because people get irate after 2 days. Amazon's built a beast a little bit with expectations from customers. They want it now. It needs to be in their inbox. in their mailbox in 2 days, or they're going to complain, and they surely do. And so what we do is we make sure that we're properly staffed so that the minute we get an order, it's like boxed and ready for the carrier to pick up within hours, so that we're not adding any extra time to it. And then, which again, that doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody has their own fulfillment in-house. People who are using third-party logistics companies to fulfill their orders, that's going to be a little more challenging, right? But luckily, we have our fulfillment in-house. So we're turning the orders quickly. We're getting them to the carriers same day. And basically telling people, like, bear with us, like, because while it's not our fault per se, in the customer's eyes, it always is our fault, and we have to make it right. So again, we try and deliver an extremely good experience when we ship our direct-to-consumer orders. We have things
Are you
in there.
throwing like 5 lip balms in there?
No, we have all kinds of different stuff that we go through. We have like bamboo coasters, we have stickers, we have these little leather things. We've got little keychain. They're like a keychain thing that your lip balm fits into.
Oh,
So you can keep
amazing.
it on your keychain, like just all kinds of little things that we throw in there. And we've got handwritten notes from various people on our team. The marketing team will jump in the warehouse and write little handwritten notes for people. And especially around the holidays, our CEO, who's my partner, likes to go into the warehouse and just go live on Instagram and just throw random products into people's boxes. So we try and just create the best experience that we can within what we can control, and, keep the customers up to date. And if they do write in with questions, assure them it's coming and apologize. You know what I mean?
Have you had to hire more people on the customer experience side in light of that, just to prepare for the holiday craziness, or no? Just
Not really.
sort of pulling team members from different areas.
Yeah, as needed. We have recently hired an additional person in the customer service arena so that we can cover like nights and weekends, because we discovered, we have live chat, for example, on our website. We like to be able to be there to answer people's questions. Well, a lot of people shop in the evenings after work.
Right.
So how do they get their questions answered? So we now have somebody covering like nights and weekends. Again, this is always working on making things better, getting better. And then our next step probably is to implement some sort of a AI that takes commonly asked questions through live chat, that sort of auto respond to, like, are you looking to find out where your order is? And it just ties into the whole system.
Yeah.
So that's probably the next step in that customer experience journey.
Got it. And Prudence, we're about to wrap up. So just any sort of advice going into 2022 for business owners to think about. And I loved, again, your advice generally about just don't let perfect get in the way of done. I think it's so important for us all to remember. But any sort of parting advice, and can you let everybody know where to find you and where to find your products?
Sure. So probably my biggest advice is stick at it. It can be very daunting and challenging at times, and don't for a second think that it wasn't for us as well. We went through many hardships in the first 2 years. And there were several points where I thought, oh, maybe this is it. You know what I mean? Keep going. If you do have a partner in your business, or if you don't, partners can be hard, but they can also be amazing. So have somebody that you can that's an uplifting, positive person that you can use as a soundboard if you're feeling on the ledge, if you will. Someone that's going to tell you, keep at it, keep going, and we'll see the best in it. And start selling products by hook or by crook, right? Products or services, whatever it is that you offer. Sell something, because having money, which is energy, is what makes it all go. And having energy and money will allow you to advertise more and acquire more customers. And it helps the whole snowball effect of growing a business. You have to spend money. You got to make money to spend. So start selling any which way, whether it's at fairs or Costco, like road shows, like whatever it might be, like
hawk your goods.
Yeah.
Or services.
Yeah, hustle. Like it
Yeah.
is a big hustle. Nobody ever sat back and didn't work hard and their business just magically went. It's just, it might seem like that online. It's not true. Everyone I know that's been successful has been in the hustle for a long time, and many of them still are, you know.
Yeah.
And live your life. Like, don't cut off one section of your life just to do business. I actually read, you know, Sarah Blakely just sold a large portion of Spanx this week.
I saw that to Blackstone.
And her husband, who I follow on Instagram, I follow her too, but her husband wrote this beautiful post about, you're going to hear how Sarah sold, you know, Spanx this week. What you're not going to hear is all of this. And he said, even through all of the due diligence, she never missed a school pickup line. She, you know, she was 100% of the days in that carpool line, always was present for her kids and her family. You don't want your other areas of your life to suffer because you're focused on business, and you don't want it to have a toll on your kids, on your marriage. So just stay at it during work time, work hard, and then be present for the rest of your life, you know, at night.
That's beautiful. I was thinking of how not present I was for picking up my son yesterday at school, because I was like, I have a call.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's a good reminder. It's hard to do, but it's a really good reminder, and it can be really fulfilling when you do find that balance or integration.
Right.
But Prudence, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. For those that are watching, we actually have a session that we're going to be leading with UPS coming up in, I believe it's on November 4th inside of the 10th house. And we'll be talking about all of these issues that you're having. And they'll be working to address them. And we also have some really great partners in UPS, and that 10th house members can reach out and get private consultations on their shipment needs. So great thing to think about. But Prudence, thank you again. It was wonderful to have you as always, and happy holidays almost.
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy that we're here, but we are.
Yes,
And best of luck.
absolutely.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.